Hi guys, it's Lynette here. Now I'm going to apologise in advance. The light is absolutely terrible. It is pouring with rain and really dull today, so I have got the big light on and I'm hoping you can still kind of see me okay. I've sat at a slightly different angle, so I hope that helps. So today I have my mirror, and that can mean one thing for me, in that I am doing a collaboration, and it's a back to the 80s collaboration with the amazing Laura at Gold Star Work. Now, if you don't follow Laura, why not? Go over to her page. She's fantastic. She is an actual artist. She's such a talented lady, and she does such amazing looks, and she does lots of different collaborations. So we've done a back to the 80s. So I have done my hair. I didn't have a big scrunchie, but I thought I'm going to put it half up, kind of half down, a la what I would do in the 80s. I have also kind of prepped my face, so I don't take too long doing all of that faffing around. So I have chosen today, I'm just going to show you today, I have chosen to use the Revolution, and it's the Deep Dive Reloaded palette. So it's got lots of wonderful blues and greens. I thought that was kind of quite fitting. I know it's fashionable again, but blues were big in the 80s, weren't they? I've also chosen this Revolution blusher palette. I won't be using the highlighter side of it, but I will be using the bright pink blush. I've picked a bronzer. I've also picked a not a frosted, but a kind of metallic-y lip colour as well, and an eye pencil for my waterline. So I'm going to kind of crack on, and what I'm going to do is I am going to do my eyes first, and I hope you can kind of see me all okay. I'm just going to make sure. Right, I hope you can kind of see me all okay, and what I'll do is every now and again is I'll just come into the camera to let you see what I'm doing, and I'll remember and look at the actual camera lens. So I'm hoping that this, look at this, I'm hoping that this doesn't happen too often, but it might be good so you can see the colour actually. Yeah, I'm looking to buy a new house, so I'm kind of hoping that when we do eventually get there, that I get somewhere that I can set up a YouTube studio. That sounds really ostentatious, eh? Somewhere that I can get a ring light and not have to take it up and down and what have you. So that is hopefully my plan. We'll see what happens. I'll be skint. I'll not be able to buy anything. Anyway, so I'm just going to bring out my brushes. I don't know what I'm doing. I've not got a clue. I've not even thought this through, but I will be using lots of the kind of glitter. I don't even know what shades I'm going in with. There's a couple of matte shades in this palette, and there's a few kind of glittery ones, so I might use a kind of glittery one up here and kind of darker matte ones here, but we'll just have a wee play around, because it was the 80s and people weren't actually really scared of colour back then. So I was just a child in the 80s. I was born in the 70s, but I am still old enough to remember it. What I was going to do was kind of like do the wings with my hair. I was going to kind of scrunch it, because I've got great 80s hair. It doesn't matter what way you cut it. I've got great 80s hair. So I'm just using this blue colour here. Imaginatively called number 3, just to go in. Now this palette cost about £4. And I follow a lovely YouTuber here called Chelsea Murray. And she does really bold looks, so I follow her, and I think she had this palette, and I thought, oh, I really like that. And I normally would not be as bold with my colour, but I thought just go for it. And I'm just going to kind of blend that up. I've not got a coloured mascara. I would have loved a coloured mascara, but I was a wee bit too disorganised to pick one up. But I would have loved a coloured mascara. Electric blue, I think, would have been ideal, but I think the 80s was the time where kind of like the guys wore more makeup than the women as well. The New Romance and what have you, Duran Duran, and what's the other band called? There was Duran Duran, and then there was, oh, I can't remember. Him from, oh, what's his name? Pepsi and Shirley were in it. No, he was married to Pepsi and Shirley. They were with Wham, weren't they? So there was Wham, George Michael, Club Tropicana. Loved that song. Boy George, Karma Chameleon. Such a colourful time, wasn't it? David Bowie, Dancing in the Streets. Mick Jagger, Queen, who could forget Queen? Michael Jackson. You can say what you want about the man, still his music's amazing. Who else was there? And kind of getting on to the late 80s, there was Bros and stuff out then? I think it was, wasn't it? Or was that early 90s? Kylie and Jason. I loved Kylie and Jason. Scott and Charlene. As I remember them as. Especially for you. Oh, God. I knew all the words to that. Me and my pal Suzanne used to sing it, and we'd take turns and being the bit. You know, being like Kylie and being Jason and singing along to it. It was such good fun. Yeah, slightly tragic, I know. Never. It was such good fun. Happy times. Used to also dance around in our kitchen doing the Shake and Vac advert. Stuff, sometimes you could not get that stuff out. Shake and Vac. Do the shake and vac and put the freshness back. When you can't, the smells fresh, your room does too. Anyway, I'm going to stop singing. Oh, over in the UK, remember we had Mel and Kim, so they were sisters, and one of them died of cancer, but they were amazing. And we had Sonia, who was kind of like our pop princess. She was from Liverpool and wore her hair like I'm wearing it today. But it was, she had the most amazing ginger hair. And she had it scrunched to within an inch of its life. Which I was going to do, but I thought, oh, I'll put it up in a pineapple. And that's how she wore her hair, but she wore it with like a bigger kind of scrunchie. Oh, it's funny, isn't it, when you think of time. For me, like, music brings back memories of times for me. Yeah. Happy days. Happy days. Kind of innocent, more kind of innocent times, I think, when you were a kid. You didn't know what was going on. Although, saying that, my sister messaged me the other day there was a documentary on about the 80s, and she was born in 83, so she was too young to remember it. And she was like, no wonder you're kind of like, your generation's so anxious. That was kind of like when AIDS was rearing its head, and I was convinced my mum and dad were going to die of AIDS. Adverts were terrifying. You know, the big tombstone, and I didn't really know what it was. I just knew that, you know, I was too young to understand what it was, but I kind of knew it affected couples. Actually, in Scotland, we tended to have, it was higher in the drug using community, in Scotland, and I live particularly close to an area that at one point a housing scheme in Edinburgh was the AIDS capital of Europe. That's how bad it was back in the 80s. So it wasn't all kind of happy days, but I was far too young to kind of know about any of that. I just remember the adverts, and I hope this stuff isn't going to stain my eyelids. So yeah, and also the public service announcements that we used to get shown at school. So that was always like wee Johnny playing on the train tracks, or by the pylon flying his kite, or retrieving his football from the bloody substation and getting electrified. So you know, it was a scary time. And then there was also the Cold War, you know, the adverts telling people, oh, right, wait there, I mucked this up. I never tapped off my brush, so I'm going to tidy this up in a minute. Yeah, these adverts were terrifying because they were to keep us safe. Oh no, I just changed my bed sheet and I've got blue eyeshadow all over it. Yeah, these adverts were absolutely terrifying. They were to try and keep you safe, but I think like they bred like a generation of neurotic, anxious people. So yeah, the Cold War, the adverts about what to do, paint your windows white, hide under your table. Yeah, right, okay. We now know that none of that would have helped. So actually, I'm glad I wasn't too old back then to understand what was going on. And then I don't know whether it was was it the late 80s that we had Live Aid? I remember sitting watching that. And that was amazing, amazing concert. In fact, Bob Geldof had told, I was watching, I think it was a documentary about it, and Bob Geldof, who had organised it along with other people, he was one of the biggest organisers. He had actually said to the BBC, destroy all your footage, and he said to the American, I don't know which channel it was shown on in America, but destroy your footage, and they never did. So luckily, I know lots of people taped it, but tapes get destroyed and things like that. But luckily, they didn't destroy all their footage, because we wouldn't have had anything, but the BBC did. So when you look back on programmes that talk about that day in history, Live Aid, you know, it is thanks to the American broadcaster not listening and ignoring Bob Geldof, basically. I think he was doing a lot of good stuff, but I think he was maybe on a bit of a, I say a power trip, I don't know, so that's not the right word to use, but you know, I don't know why. I think he actually agreed that they could use the footage, and in hindsight I think he probably realises that, you know, it was the wrong thing to do. It was such a momentous day. I remember, was it Phil Collins? He got on Concorde at the time, which we don't have anymore, which is mad to think that we've actually gone backwards. And he got on, he flew transatlantic on Concorde, and he played, was it in Philadelphia and in Wembley Stadium, and nobody I think has ever or will ever do that ever again. So yeah, when I went to see the We Will Rock You, it just sent shivers down my spine. They replicated the start of it, but just, you know, that whole day, I mean, I was a wee kid and I remember it. But imagine being there. I mean, the acts that were on stage, I mean, they'll never replicate that lineup. I'm sorry, they will never replicate that lineup. There will never be a lineup in the history of music as good as that day, sorry. Personally speaking, I don't think there will be. So, I do not have And it's not even my musical era, so I'm not doing that thing that your dad does when he, or just my dad maybe, he used to shout at Top of the Pops saying that music was all terrible. That's not even on the go. We had a programme called Top of the Pops that did the countdown, and it was always on a Thursday night, so it did the charts for the week. But of course the charts right now, up until they do the charts show on a Sunday night, they're changing. So it's just right up until they lock down the top 10, which I think is fascinating. Alright, that's my concealer on the floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of these colours to use as an eyeliner. So it's quite a bold look actually. I'm going to pick there's a kind of purpley blue one and a gold one. I'm just going to mix those, and I've just sprayed my brush with my setting spray. I'm actually just going to go in and use the gold, not the gold, the sparkly colour, because I love that. Yeah, I don't have any blue mascara, but I'll fake the blue liner. So yeah, there was everybody on that. David Bowie, Queen, the Rolling Stones on it. Run DMC. Loved Run DMC. Stevie Wonder, I think. Elton John. I want to say the Rolling Stones. I don't know. David Bowie. But yeah, just a time. I know they've done loads of good work, the Freddie Mercury kind of foundation, and raising awareness as well. And it's so sad to think that Harry contracted HIV 10, 15 years later, he'd still be here. You know, AIDS, most people don't get AIDS, but HIV is not a death sentence anymore. And I know it's always been quite a taboo thing, but it shouldn't be. There's drugs that they can give to people to stop them kind of catching it. If they, for example, if you've had if you've been assaulted, you can get drugs that you can take to halt anything. It's just fantastic. But I just think, while I was watching the film, I was just thinking, how sad is it that actually he died of a disease that's now curable? But actually, thanks to all these amazing people that we have working in research, that it is actually now curable. And I just really hope one day that we can see the same for every cancer. You know, there's still so many cancers that aren't curable. I know that we sometimes can be a bit, oh, cancer's, you know, cancer's not as scary as it once was, but do you know what? It's still bloody scary, regardless. And that's if you're lucky enough to get a cancer that's not, you know, that's got really good odds. But I think there will become a point in time that, you know, it will be illnesses of our own making that are killing us. So for example, you know, high blood pressure, diabetes, not type 1 but type 2, you know, it's lifestyle, drugs and alcohol. I'm just putting the shimmery blue colour under. So yeah, I watched it, and the music, the Queen music was amazing. Absolutely amazing. What a band. And I know he went solo for a bit, but really, what a band. But they all come across really nice, and you know, when you meet them and things, like now, not that I've ever met them, but when you see them on TV, they all come across really nice guys. So I'm going to put my bronzer on now. And I'm really happy with the eyes. I'm going to put a kohl in my underline, and can you see, does that help? It's quite funny because actually I started off really pale, and then you add in, I feel like I'm adding in the colour into my face, so getting some bronzer and some blusher. So I am not going to be subtle with my blusher. I am not apologising because this is the 80s, and yeah, I don't know what subtle was, did I? I wasn't allowed to wear makeup in the 80s. Got to wear some makeup maybe if my pal's sister took us to the school disco. So I'm going to go for one of these really bright pinks. Do you think? And we can build. Oh, remember the film, one of my favourite films, right? With Kim Cattrall, Mannequin. I loved that film when I was wee. I was just, honestly, I thought she was the most beautiful looking woman I think I'd ever seen. Kind of look like I've been slapped a bit in the cheeks. But I did say I'm not going to be subtle with my blusher. I've got to go downstairs and my husband's going to be like, what have you done? In fact, I need to tone it down. There's no being subtle and there's looking like you've got slapped cheeks. Right, hurry up, Lynette. So, I am going to do kohl under on my waterline, not under my waterline. And then I am going to put on my metallic lipstick, put some mascara on. As I say, it's a pity I don't have any blue mascara, but I'm not that forward thinking. I wish I was. And if this world breaks down and lovers, we'll still have each other. Some brilliant films as well in the 80s. Was Big from the 80s, or was that the late 80s, early 90s? Like that film. Classic Tom Hanks. Of course, the Star Wars films went from the late 70s into the 80s. I absolutely had a massive crush on Han Solo when I was wee. I always wanted Princess Leia to go out with him. Didn't ever want her to go out with Luke. And that was before we kind of knew that they were related. Sorry if I'm spoiling the plot for you guys. But I think you need to catch up. Of course, it's all kind of Game of Thrones now, isn't it? But the girl from Game of Thrones, Emily, what's her face? No, she's Emily Clark in the film Me Before You. She was in Solo, which is about Han Solo, or Han Solo's son, or something like that. But Me Before You, if you haven't seen it, it's a fantastic film. I read the book first. It's about a guy who has a really bad accident. He's quadriplegic, and she's got to try and look after him, and then she tries to change his mind from going to a suicide clinic. And the girl who's in Game of Thrones. In that film, she's got the most expressive eyebrows I have ever seen. So that is my back to the 80s look, just missing my blue mascara. I've got my kind of frosted metallic lips. I've got my hair up in the trusty pineapple. Just need some kind of maybe glitter body spray and some glitter spray for the hair. But yeah, I had really good fun playing with that palette actually. It's not a colour, it's not as bold as I would ever dare to wear, but I really enjoyed playing with that. So thank you if you're still here watching me, and head over to Laura's channel, Gold Star Work, and I will link her channel once we've decided when we're going to put this up. But I might be away on holiday, so what I'll do is I will link a video anyway so that you can go to her channel and then just look for the look that we've created. Tell her Lynette says hi if you're going over. But yep, I hope you've really enjoyed this. I love the fact that, you know, they do say in fashion things come back round again. I was chatting to one of my friends and her daughter was wearing short dungarees, and I was like, you know, I loved my short dungarees back in the 90s, and I just love the way how everything comes back round. So anyway, talking about coming back round, blue eyeshadow. I mean, who would have known it? But I actually think I've done quite a kind of modern twist on the blue eyeshadow. So anyway, thank you for watching. I'm going to go downstairs and my husband is just going to be like, what has happened? So catch you later. Bye guys.